B, any discussion on job performance, character, physical, mental health of persons, provided that such persons affected may require such discussion be held open in the meeting. And C, RI General Law 42-46582, sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation. 1, Robinson Green Beretta architectural contract. 2, stage 2 submission to RIDE school construction. Motion to come out of the motion also containing no votes were taken and to seal the minutes.
Second.
Second by Councilman Nato. Discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Valenti?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. We'd like to move to items made on the docket. Discussion by council, vote of direction on Robinson Green Beretta architectural contract, stage 2 submission to RIDE in the school construction. I'd like to place a motion to hire an architectural firm to determine errors and omissions in the RGB stage 2 application submission on file with RIDE. Second by Councilwoman Nato. Is there any discussion? Any questions? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Valenti?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. Also, is it, I'd like to direct this is a form of professional services?
Yes.
So we have to,
Take a vote to seek professional services for this review. I'll make that motion, Mr. President. That's the motion.
Second.
second by motion by Councilman Zelinski, second by Councilwoman Nato, dealing with professional service to be hired concerning this application. Sorry. Yes. Any discussion?
Just for clarity, Mr. President, tonight, basically, we're going to go, the motion was to seek professional architectural firms to take a look at this. And that's basically it, correct?
I'm correct.
Okay. Good. And, I want to make sure that we cover, we're going to be looking at the phase 2 application that was submitted on behalf of the town of North Smithfield to allow Department of Education. That motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Nato seconded. Any more discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Valenti?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. Ten, yes. Discussion by council, vote of direction on ordering firm proposal.
I can speak to it if you want, if you have any questions.
Can you just go over the firms that did submit bids and then go over them?
Yes. We had 5 companies the second time around submitted proposals. The first time around we had 3. We had Ron Bolio and Company, Bacon and Company, Hayes Sahadi and Company, Parmalee and Poirier, and Nato Wadovich. We had a group of, there were 5 of us, Lisa Marcotte, Alicia Melvin, John Winkleman, John Raymond, and Paulette was in a couple of the meetings. What we did was we got together and we reviewed the proposals that were given to us, and we each had an individual evaluation sheet where we were able to score the firms. As a group, we eliminated Parmalee and Poirier and Nato Wadovich, because they had performed audits for the school and town within the last 3 years. So that narrowed it down to Ron Bolio, Haig, Sahidi, and Bacon and Company. Our biggest issue with Ron Bolio, and he had been the first time around, was that he's physically located in Maine. He expects all the reports and any documentation to be sent to him via fax, scan, snail mail. He has a small staff of 6 to 8. We believe there was a high turnover. We did ask him for some credentials of his employees, and there is him and one employee who's a certified CPA. The rest are just technically staff accountants. He mails the final reports. He sends 5, and then if we request extra, it's $1 per page to copy. He had the least amount of audit hours, and we questioned whether he would physically be able to come and present to the council when the audit was done. Again, I did reach out to them. I got a really vague response from one of his employees, so we kind of eliminated them because the amount of man hours for the finance department and the business department to be scanning and emailing and mailing documentation is just, I mean, for 2 small staffs, it's absolutely atrocious. The second company that did bid twice, they gave 2 proposals, was Haig Sahidi. They're in Fall River, Mass. They do have Rhode Island Rhode Island towns and schools, but most of the schools they've had in Rhode Island are small. They have Block Island, Little Compton, nothing that was comparable to North Smithfield, and the school department had some concern with that because UCOA is a very important thing. They did have some issues with Parmalee with their UCOA report this year, and they didn't want to have a firm, again, that didn't have a really strong background in auditing Rhode Island schools with the agreed upon procedures in the UCOA. They were also the highest bidder. Their staff, they're all CPAs, they're very qualified, but again, the school's biggest concern was the number of comparable schools in Rhode Island. So the last company was Bacon. They're in Warwick. They have, Lincoln, Cumberland, you name it, they've had them. The school department actually reached out to some of the communities and got references for them, and they gave them, glowing reviews. They had the highest amount of hours to perform the audit at 574. We did go back and research. They did perform an audit for the town of North Smithfield and the school back in 1997. I couldn't find the report. I did go digging up in the attic, but I wasn't able to find it. I don't believe they were, I think that's back when they were Bacon Edge, because they have all changed names, acquired people, and people have left. They had the most amount of hours again, and they were the second lowest bidder. So as a group, we all agreed, and you can see the evaluation sheets, we felt the most comfortable awarding the contract to Bacon to perform the audit with the town council's approval. If you agree, we'll have to get a letter from our solicitor to the Auditor General to appoint the auditing company. And then the Auditor General will give his approval on the firm that we select.
This has a question for Assistant Finance Director. Hi Tracy, thank you.
You're welcome.
You put a lot of work into this. I do remember Bacon and Edge. Now, the principal was at Walter Bacon?
It was Walter Edge, and he's no longer with
Oh, okay,
Bacon.
that was at Walter, okay.
Yeah, I believe, yes.
From 1997.
1997 and 2000, so 15 years ago.
I thought so too. Pose a question. Is there something?
I'm actually going to pose a question to Mr. Clifford, because he is most knowledgeable about the most recent report that we've had from Bacon and Edge on the
It's a
school.
different firm totally.
It's a different
Yeah,
firm?
yeah, this firm is not related to B&E at all, Bacon and Edge at all. They used to be partners. Mr. Edge used to be partners with Mr. Bacon, but they've
They've
separated.
separated, so the
Yeah.
school
Yes.
side, the recent one from the school side was Edge?
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is a totally different firm.
This is Bacon and Patricia, I want to say Boucher. Is it Patricia?
It's a good firm.
Okay. That was my only concern, because I kept hearing,
No, this is a
It's
totally
different,
different
okay.
firm.
get really aggressive the second time, and, I can only attack these people and email them so many times to get them to give us proposals, so.
Yeah, thank you for that. And also, congratulations, did you have a big day this evening?
Oh, yes, I graduated Saturday, I got my BSBA, so,
Thank
thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilman else?
I would like to make a motion to hire Bacon and Company as the town and schools auditor for the year of 2015, 16, and 17 for a total bid of $136,500 per the recommendation of the assistant finance director.
No, wait a second, it should be 117, 750. One figure.
I'm sorry, 117, 750.
Chair seconds.
I think I would second too, Mr. President.
Second, everybody else? Okay. And clerk will roll call, please.
Ms. Alves?
Yes.
Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Valenti?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may, while Tracy is here, she has another issue, and I'm just wondering if you could possibly bring it up and try to find it.
This is C.
New business C, which would be discussion by council for other action on the police department policy infrastructure. As we put it out of the way, that is presented in our document.
I would like to entertain that one.
I believe, do you want to present it, and then if they have questions, or do you want? Okay, I mean,
I
we
feel
can-
comfortable with you doing what
Okay.
you did, all the work you did.
So, back in November, before Bruce Senecal left, we met with the police department, myself, our IT consultant Jim Lass, who's with Velocity Solutions, who's been our IT consultant since 2009, when he did a technology project for the town with Eric Butash, formerly of the school department. They had some concerns regarding their infrastructure, or lack thereof. So what happened was we collaborated and we went out and we met with Bruce and we met with Lieutenant Pagarini and I believe Captain Lafferty at the time, and we went through the police department, we went through their server room, we looked at their machines, and we sat down together as a group and discussed, the issues that we saw and, how to make it better. They currently operate on a single server setup, and the current server is 18 years old. I don't know how it's still running. I don't know how it's still running today. I don't know how it was still running then. The biggest issue was that it was never presented before to, pursue, newer equipment, and it was kind of just to put Band-Aids on everything over there. And I don't know why it became such a pressing issue all of a sudden to get this fixed, but I mean, it should have been addressed years and years ago. So what we did was we sat down, and again, Bruce is no longer with the police department, but we did collaborate, and what we came up with, and we bounced back and forth, and it's been a long, process, was taking the police department and virtualizing their infrastructure to somewhat mirror the infrastructure of the town. The way the town's set up is we're a full virtual environment. We operate with VM. All of our, we have a print server, we have a mail server. Everything's, housed within, but if something goes down, instead of taking the whole system down, you can just take that piece down. Again, I'm not standing here as, an IT guru. I mean, I'm learning as I go with Jim. But the biggest issue what the police presented was they wanted to go back to a single server. They wanted to pretty much take their current infrastructure and just update the equipment. They wanted to get another single server. They wanted to get new workstations, everything, new printers, the whole kit and caboodle. What we fear is that, in 5-10 years, they're going to be in the same boat. That they're going to have, outdated equipment, they're just going to be putting Band-Aids on it. So we presented a proposal to them taking what they presented to us in a single server environment and putting it in a virtual environment. They didn't like that, I'm not gonna sit here and say they did. But there was a cost savings because the town and the police would both be virtual. What could happen is we could actually back up the police's, we could back up their system nightly to our building. You know, they could back up to us, they could back up to the annex, like every night the annex backs up to us, we back up to the annex, so if something goes down, if the building explodes, you know, you're able to get to that data. Currently, they back up to tapes that they keep in the server room. So if that building goes down, that's it. I mean, there's no backup. They can't restore their system. I mean, it's almost scary to think about it. So again, you'll see all the documentation is behind it, email correspondences, you know, how we address the problem, what we saw as the biggest issues, some cost savings, Dell versus HP. It's really just, you know, at the, you know, who prefers what. But we think that this is the best way to go. If the school and the town eventually combine into one building, the school's already virtualized, the town's already virtualized. Why not bring the police into this virtual environment where we're all using each other's infrastructure to make sure that if something happened, you know, we can easily get it back up. I mean, you're talking downtime of, you know, 24 hours as opposed to, you know, weeks. That was the biggest concern. Right now, if the police department goes down, they're not operating. They're down. There's no tickets, there's no e-tickets, there's no, you know, using the cruiser computers, there's no, you know, VIN checks. I mean, that's it. There's no dispatch, there's no 911. I mean, they're in a really bad position right now. They're currently using Paul Valenti to handle their day-to-day IMC and computer issues. We're kind of out of the loop. I know technology falls under the purview of the finance director, and we just had a bill for Paul Valenti for $8,800 from December until April, and he doesn't even document what he does, so we don't know what problems they're having. Right now, it's kind of like police is here and we're here, and what we're trying to do is really bring it together. And I know there's a fear of, you know, giving up control, but I think in the long run, I think really integrating technology with the town and the police, and then maybe with the town and the police and the school, I think it would benefit, you know, everybody. I think, you know, we could get good equipment, we can get them speed. You know, they have issues where they can't open up attachments. You know, it takes forever. Computers, black screen. I mean, they're operating on a system that's so antiquated that the fact that they're even operating at all is sometimes it actually, you know, shocks me. So what we're presenting to you is a project that would cost approximately $57,000. The quotes that I received are directly from Dell, they're directly from the companies. It would really bring them up to where they need to be. And I think we really can't wait on this any longer, because I know the equipment's not going to come tomorrow. I know that if we were to order the equipment, you're still looking at a couple months. You're looking at, you know, getting all the ducks in a row, getting all the parties involved. You're going to need an IMC, whether our IT consultant with myself, whether we do some of the work, whether we put it out to bid. I mean, I really think we need to at least get the ball rolling and order the equipment. Get the equipment there, and, you know, it's there, we're ready, you know, baby steps. But I don't think this can wait any longer, because with them not having somebody on staff that could handle a major outage, you just don't want to see North Smithfield in the news that, you know, their system's down and they're out of commission, you know, because something happened. And I think it's going down that road. And I know, you know, if we could really just come together with them and we could all just work together, we could really get them up and running. And I think they would be shocked to see, you know, how out of, you know, the 21st century they've been. And I really think, I feel this is the best way to do it. I put a lot of work into it. I know Roseanne also weighed in on it. She's very, you know, versed in the virtual environment. They're just afraid, you know, they've always had, you know, one person in there maintaining it, and now they're kind of, you know, at the mercy of, you know, us, you, the wolves. I mean, I just think There's money in the contingency fund, it could cover it, like I said, again, it's estimated 57,000. The quotes are behind it, you can see all the emails I had, all the memos that we put forth. It really is just a matter of, you guys give the go-ahead, we start ordering equipment, and then we just take this, pretty much one day at a time to
Tracy,
address
Tracy, I have a
this.
question.
Yeah,
This equipment will be purchased, how compatible is it with the town side of the equation?
the equipment that's quoted on our quote is all Dell equipment. It's the same as what the town's using right now. The server is really a Cadillac server. It's a really high-end server. They presented an HP. We went, one step beyond and we gave them a better server to operate. We currently use all Dell Optiplexes. They're quoted at Dell Optiplexes. They wanted HPs. HPs and Dells they're compatible. But, we use all Dell equipment, so we got a quote for all Dell equipment.
I'll answer a little bit more to that. Hardware is hardware, it doesn't matter. It's all compatible. It's in and of itself its own component, so that makes no difference. Compatibility doesn't have any say in it at all.
I just want to make sure that, we're going to do something, the timing will be good, good for the administration.
I believe that was the point of this, of going with the VM system, is to look at the short term, or the shortest end game to consolidate IT into a department function here. Whether we have somebody that oversees it, or we outsource that to a company who oversees it that way. As Tracy mentioned, right now it's a hodgepodge of pretty much she does everything. So if it's a problem, we call on her, she calls on Jim if she can't handle it. A lot of burdens put on her, there's really no centralized decision-making of it. And again, she's done wonderful with what she's been given to do, but we need to move this into the 21st century, as she said. And I think this is a good step one. Thanks to Rosanna on this, because she basically discussed this with the police to get them on board with going with what we presented with the VM, which is compatible with where the town is now, and where the school is now. So,
No, I just want to make sure that if all this is some sort of consolidation, that maybe the town will just need someone in charge of all three to address the system. There'll be cost savings there.
that's
down the road.
exactly where we're going with this.
Okay.
And this is almost speeding that process up from a 2-year process to getting it done in 3 months. I think the end result is going to be of great value.
I know it's just, like everything else, there's always, the technology is always the upfront cost, but the cost savings come down the road.
And a lot of their issues, I believe one of the first discussions we had that Tracy mentioned, is this new system is going to answer most of their problems just with the new equipment. So if we can eliminate, the majority of the problems with just that, it's, everything else is great.
If I can just extend that a little further, also with the technology, new technology, there will be applications that can be utilized, will be save more time.
Oh, yeah.
So in other words, it's a multiplier of savings.
And I do want to say that the quotes that first was submitted to Tracy were a lot higher than what she's presenting to us tonight. And they're getting a much, much better system. They're getting a solid state drive, which will give them performance that we can use later. So all of this was done with consolidation of services in mind. The police themselves don't need a solid state drive. They don't need VMware because they're just a small little operation. But we do. So giving them what we need to take that first step to consolidate is the right path to take. And that's exactly what I said to the chief, and I got my little lowercase okay after my 19-page letter. I sent him to it.
Thank you for the work that you've done on this. On behalf of the town.
Yeah, Tracy's done an excellent job getting the quotes.
I've driven them crazy. I'm still waiting for one, I'm like, well.
I do have one question as we approach the close of the fiscal year. How do we stand as far as our contingency fund goes?
There's about 114,000 in contingency fund that has not been earmarked.
Yeah, so of all the contingency funds, this one has no other earmarks. If you remember, you earmarked about 80,000 for another project
quotes. The air conditioning and the rack.
The rack is the quote that I'm waiting for, and I got a quote from Dell for the rack with the cooling vent, or the vents and the cooling fan, because they had quoted an HP rack with the vent and the cooling fan, so I'm just waiting to hear back from them.
That's included in here. The AC is not, because we haven't gone out to bid process for that.
Okay.
It's over 5,000 specifically for that, so we're gonna look at that as its own entity later. It's something that we wanna do here.
It's over 5,000, the air conditioning, not one.
No, it's actually gonna
Well,
fall
that
under 4,000.
That
We
was
were
what they
looking,
submitted to me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
That's what I've seen so far, so I don't
we
like-
have a cooling system currently in the town server room that I believe costs us about $3,500. I got a quote from Lincoln, just did their server room with one of those machines, and it was like maybe $4,800. So if we,
sheet wall.
yes, and it's all, with the thermostat and, but I think we might be able to get one for under $5,000,
Okay.
which would be
Yeah.
great. And I know John Perry had mentioned that I believe his company does them as well. So I think if we go out, we could probably get quotes and come in under the 5,000, which would be great. So you could probably add that on. The other thing is too, I think I mentioned it in here, there is a potential that, it's not gonna cost exactly $57,000. Unfortunately, as we start, we might come across other things like the air conditioning. So, obviously we would present that at that time, but I don't wanna say, oh, it's $57,000 and it comes in at, $58,981. So, this is all based on, like I said, quotes and, when they update the server, the other thing was too is, there are some new workstations in the police department that they have bought in the last couple of years. The biggest issue is the server is just overextended. I mean, it's working way too hard. These computers that they've purchased, the newer ones, they could be okay once the server's upgraded. So it's possible we might not need, I believe, 19 workstations. So hopefully, that's a possibility, but, there's also the possibility that could be $60,000 project. So I have to give myself a little bit of wiggle room, unfortunately.
Question for someone who's not technology literate, to either Councilor Nato or to Tracy. Tracy, looking at a memo from 11/20/2014, we did purchase that Sonic wall. Is that Sonic compatible?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Now,
They actually purchased it, I believe, like right around this time. We found out after the fact.
and how about labor? I don't see a mention of labor in the May 14th memo. I don't see a mention of labor.
Does it say on the bottom, does it say 10,000? It says estimated cost of labor 10,000. On the PO, that's for $54,049.39. Oh yeah, it's a handwritten PO with all the equipment.
Okay, no, I'm looking at the memos. Okay, so all of this is pretty good. I'm going to defer to Councilor Nato. Are you comfortable with this?
I'm absolutely 100% comfortable with it. I looked at everything alongside of them while they were getting their quotes. I looked at the solution in its entirety, and it is the way to go. Absolutely. So, Mr. President, I would like to make a motion, if I can find it on the agenda, where to see, to approve the purchasing of the IT infrastructure for the police department.
Chair seconds.
To come out of contingency fund, how much to go with that?
No.
Chair seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk roll call please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mrs. Zalinski?
Yes?
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Thank
Tracy,
you.
Tracy, thank you for doing this outstanding job with this.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 11. Go to payment of bills. Sorry, did you want to add or subtract from the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. President, I want to remove from the current agenda the bills. I didn't have any questions about anything else. Basically, Mr. President, we make a motion to accept everything that's under there except for, payment of bills. We're gonna,
You also want to go down with all?
yeah,
all of the resolutions?
consent agenda, everything that's here, I'm also, I'm mindful, comfortable with it. Bar 13, I'm going to the exception of A. Okay,
I'm concerned about 13. Road map, Rhode Island?
okay, so you want to pull that from the agenda?
Yes, this is this
Sure.
time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to put from docket item number 11, we're going to pull the payment of bills. Number 13, the resolution supporting legislation regarding Rhode Island. Chair makes a motion to accept these, with the exception of A and 13.
Second.
Second by Councilman Zawinski. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. President, starting the payment of bills, basically to the finance director. Jason, on page 514, you just tell me, we have down at the bottom, just so we have storm damage, reimbursed, vinyl fence, $928. What happened? Just curious.
The loader truck crushed the fence, the vinyl fence, and this came under the 1,000 or less criteria of replacement under the MH.
Thank you. Page 6 of 14, fifth one, Menard's Electric vacuum cleaner installation. What do you have in-house?
They actually, in the police, yes, they installed one of those external vac systems that goes throughout the annex.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was actually for the police department side of the annex. But I know, I was a little jealous too.
Whole house work?
Yeah, so it's like central vac?
Basically, yes,
Okay.
and central vacuum.
On page 9 of 14, Paul V. Valenti, and I heard some, now I'm getting, Tracy alluded to it this evening, $8,827.50. And if I heard correctly, we don't know what we're getting billed for, it's not itemized, it's just coming to us?
Well, there's a line item in the police budget for $30,000 for IMC and IT services.
Yep.
So his stipend historically, when it was Bruce prior, he would just submit, I was there, I did this, give me these hours.
Okay.
So he gets cut off at the $30,000 this year. This is one of the items that we're gonna pull back into IT and the town budget out of police to try to get the consolidation of these services, put them out to bid, and try to get the best bang for our buck on this situation.
Excellent, thank you.
Hopefully we can reduce that bill in the future.
Now, page 11 of 14, we have Robinson Green Beretta.
I do have a copy of that. It is actually just the final bill for printing and submission of papers. So I do have a copy of this here.
Okay.
It did get on the listing. I made a copy with the assumption that this was gonna come up tonight and be questioned. Would you like to take a look at
No,
it?
as long as we have our record, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
All right. 12 of 14, second one from the bottom. Services on Trump Brook Lane. Well, what is that about? $225.
Offhand, I only investigated this to be legal. That was approved by David Igliozzi, so I would have to get back to you as far as exactly what that's done.
So the solicitor looked at it?
Yeah, every legal bill goes through David's approval prior to it coming to us now,
Okay,
so.
which is good. And then I'm on the last page, expenditures by vendor of water.
Yep.
And we have Allied Construction Company install new fire hydrant. $2,255. Why, do we not lease fire hydrants from City of Woonsocket? Why
We
install-
do, we actually have both. We have in-town fire hydrants, which are our responsibility, and then we have the ones that we rent from Woonsocket. So there are unmetered hydrants in town that our fire department uses, and this would be a replacement of one of those. So there's two sections of fire hydrants, ones that we own in town, and the ones that we rent for, the people that use the Woonsocket system.
Okay, thank you for the explanations. With that, Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the payment of the bills.
Is that
Oh, sorry.
This is one other question.
Sure.
Just the town of Blackstone. What those two charges were for? 463.40 and 506. It's on page 13 and 14. It's on the very top, very top.
Oh, yeah, this is water purchases from Blackstone for Parks and Rec, for watering of our fields and things of that
Oh, is
nature.
that the one that's Kelly Field?
Yeah. So we purchase water from them to, water the grounds for Parks and Rec purposes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, is it 13 or 14, Mr. President?
Well, it's carryover, this is 13 and 14, and it's town of Blackstone.
Yeah, it's the top.
On 12, and then the figures are up on top. We use the expression on it. No, just,
Yeah, it's the way it printed, the name of the vendors on one page, the
Okay.
activities on the other.
right.
So, in essence, we got $969.40 of water to water the fields. It's a lot of money.
Well, it's a quarterly bill that's paid.
Let's
So
see what
this
we're-
quarter,
Now, we're almost,
the usage, yeah.
wow, so we're under $4,000 for watering the fields a year, just for water.
Yeah.
With all that snow that we had, didn't have to work.
Wow.
Would you like me to do any kind of investigation on that for you?
Just, yeah, if you don't mind, what do we pay for 10,000 gallons of water? What do we charge residents?
Well, we purchase it from Woonsocket, so we're also at the wing with them on rates.
Yeah, but we're buying this from
No,
Blackstone.
I know that, they purchase it from Woonsocket, so
So
we're all part of the same,
yes.
can't get away from it, kind of. But I'll look into what the usage and what the cost is for us on those.
If you would, because previous with Blackstone was something to do with electric bill, we found out we were paying for some of their electricity, so, yeah, I think we're looking at that. Thanks.
I'm just curious the volume of water that was being utilized. I mean, I'm just curious also too, if we're using this kind of water, is this something that goes on a timer at night?
My guess is that it is a sprinkler system that we're using for this, but until I dig in, I'm not gonna get any.
In essence, can we have a separate meter that our water is taken out of, not there to municipal town hall, at the point of consumption for a space?
Thank you, Jason.
No problem.
Any other questions concerning payment of bills? Are we all set, County Council?
Yes, Mr. President, so I'll make that, give me one, right? I'll make a motion to accept payment of bills on 5/18/2015 in the amount of $2,175,328.78. Also, with the understanding that it's been approved by the town administrator and finance director, is that correct? Yeah.
Cheers, second. Second by Councilman Nato. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Lucia?
Yes. Okay, the resolution supporting the road map for Rhode Island. My suggestion is that I don't like giving authority to any more authority to state than what it has. That's why I can't support that resolution. To me, it's just the state can usurp anything we have and just say, hey, no problem, you're gonna have this and you can't do anything about it, so that's why I'm not supporting this particular resolution.
Okay.
So, any other questions? Discussion?
I want to support him as well.
Resolution opposing the legalization of marijuana.
We pulled only A, those were, we only dealt with full A in 13, and that was approved.
Yeah.
I don't know that we actually have to approve these, we just accept them,
No, I just, every time I see this, we go back to Rhode Island, it means the road not in the right direction. I'm sorry, I just don't trust Big Brother.
Okay, I'm with you on that one, Mr. President.
So we can file that one too. The circular file. Okay, item number 12. Discussion, council vote on that, okay, we already did that on council agenda. Under old business, abatements. Mr. Dolce is not here.
I have explanations for abatements. Mr. Doshi couldn't be here tonight,
Okay, thank you, Vincent.
so I do have this if you have any questions.
It's just curious why Mrs. Dolce is not here this evening.
I don't know if he had a prior engagement, but he told me he wasn't able to make it on Friday. So he gave me the explanations.
Okay.
I just thought I was getting there, I guess.
Oh, that's
So,
not easy.
There was a reason, but he did explain to me why these are here, so I can give you at least the explanation that I have. So you want me to just review? Okay.
Everyone.
The package that you see, the number at the top, the 424,000, David's idea was to start to show you what you guys have approved year to date. So this is including everything, material sand, this is where we stand to date as far as what's been approved by you guys to be posted to the tax rolls. If you see Sarah Garetti, I believe is the name of it,
Garrett?
Garetti, Hatchet Job, excuse me. It was just an overvalued trailer. In 2012, it was a value. In 2013, it was a higher value. And then in 2014, it was abated again back to the 2012 value. I'm not sure, and David's not sure how a year was missed in between, but it was a missed, and it's a $10 correction to that bill. And then the next 4 items, you'll see, they're all tangible items that are being abated in relation to a business that was moved from North Smithfield to Lincoln in 2010. For 2011, they were registered in Lincoln, and we have checked in all of their past taxes to the town of Lincoln from 2011 till current are paid up to date. This was just an item where it was never taken off the roll and the business closed. So it's a legitimate, should not have been billed item. And it was, again, for 4 years for the same business. And that is all the abatements on the list for tonight.
Any questions, councils?
Mr. President, through the explanation and the acceptance of these abatements by the finance director, I move that we approve abatements in the amount of $1,953.09, bringing the year-to-date fiscal of $424,001.12.
Chair seconds. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Sal? Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. Discussion by council vote on the action on a resolution to amend tax stabilization ordinance. Also, Mr. Dolce, who's not here.
I'm sorry, you have in your packet I guess it was last meeting or the meeting prior to that, you asked me to determine an amendment to Rhode Island General Law 44-3-16.2, and that was because he found an error that he felt was not being beneficial to elderly residents of town, given that the tax rate can change, and in some instances, he was finding that people were paying more than they really should have been. It's the system that was broken. He wanted to fix it. You asked for legislation, that's what you have in front of you. We just need a vote so that I can send it to the legislature tomorrow morning.
Mr. President.
Councilman Zawinski.
Madam Administrator, looks like you're taking the initiative. Thank you for straightening this out. If we count the cover page as page 1, if we move into page 3, and that's the one that has about the. So basically, basically, every time we see freeze, we're going to say defer, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So if you look down, midway down to page number 4, the deferral is not allowed for any improvement except for since the tax freeze program occurs, so we want to put tax deferral number 4.
Will do.
And look for more of them, I mean, I just,
Three.
yeah. Did you see that
Under
page
C.
there?
Now, on the same page, under C, application process number 3. Letter E, in such cases, the frozen yearly tax shall be calculated.
Sorry, what page is that?
Same page,
Page number what?
3, under C, the application process.
Yep, yep, got it.
So maybe do a word search on
Yep,
this.
we'll definitely do that with those corrections and get that up.
Yeah, above as well, and
Yep.
it says, in number 3,
Mhm.
before E.
Right.
Right before we- so-
Yeah, well, the layout of this, it's really hard to follow. But it's there as well, and shall nullify the freeze and any deferral of the tax year.
Deferral, yeah.
Right.
Page 4, are you still on this one?
No, 3.
You know?
Yeah.
Because now I'm even doubting myself because I missed that last one you just mentioned. So this
I
is-
saw 2.
Well, good, okay, cool. So on page 4.
Okay, got it.
Number 2.
Yep, number 2.
I think that's it.
Let's be easier.
Yeah, I said so much, I missed that one, I picked up quick. So I will make a motion to, well, we have to sign this stuff, right? I'm gonna sign it. We can sign the cover page, and then you can go all.
I could just PDF it over to next meeting.
Mr. Ashenbaum, is that okay with you sign the cover page as long as these edits are addressed before the PDF is over?
Yes, and it will support it, it's just a vote for approval, and then you sign the cover. As qualified, maybe notified.
All right, Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve a resolution to support the amendment of RI General Law 44-3-16.2. Whereas around General Laws 43-3-16.2 was adopted by the General Assembly to provide tax stabilization for certain persons aged 65 and older. And that's basically what I'm going to read to get the context of it. The motion would be to sign the cover page contingent upon the administrator making those edits that were pointed out this evening, and possibly any other edits that the council missed regarding to the word freeze.
Chair seconds. Any other discussion? Hearing
Mr.
none.
President, this the tax stabilization act that Councilor Alter was working on?
No.
That was it.
Okay. Madam Clerk? roll
Ms.
call.
Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Swansky?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. Item C, ordinance amendment, section 1115-6, one-way street, Maury Road.
Mr. President,
Discussion by council, vote or other action.
I would like to push this to a meeting in June, citing that in the last meeting that we talked about this, that we discussed this, Mr. Zelinski made a motion to continue this, to have the second reading in June. On June 1st, I believe. There's still some work that needs to be done in order to create safety, where that's why the street was made a one-way, was because it was not considered safe at this point in time. It wasn't considered safe by DOT. While we're looking at reversing that decision, there's still the issue of safety. So we would need an engineering firm to look at it to,
Actually, as we discussed last meeting, I did get back again in touch with Mr. Wood from the town manager in Barville, and we are meeting, I want to say Thursday, I'm not sure, either Wednesday or Thursday of this week, and both our respective DPW directors as well, to look at what we can do. People have agreed to give some land, if we need to widen
is something that does need to be noted, that the well on Mr. Richards' property is 13 feet from the pavement. Some of the property is, some of his property is actually the road. He already has a well variance, so this needs to be an easement, or we'll have to pass a whole harmless ordinance. Make sure that he has a good well cap to keep the road salt out, because he can sue the DPW for contamination, which will have to replace every single appliance that uses water in his house every couple of years. My sister just went through that while she's still living in Barlow. And we will have to note that if we don't change the ingress and people start crashing into his well, we're gonna have to figure out a way to make sure that's safeguarded.
I'll look at you with better detailed report when we go out and hopefully come up with a solution.
And that is slated for
I
around,
believe it's either Wednesday or Thursday.
Does Mr. Richard have any boulders he,
No, he has not.
okay.
And I was under the impression they were going to move those rocks had to be moved. They were safety hazards. Oh, I'm sorry. They're a safety hazard out there, which he's created the safety hazard. The road was there for 150 years. Now, all of a sudden, 420 feet of it is unsafe. Don't make sense to me. I don't know about anybody else. And he created the issue.
Ma'am, can you state your name for the record, please?
Sure, Sheila Williams. I'm a Borough resident, by the way.
Right, I recall.
I'm Saxon meeting. I had a feeling something wasn't gonna go right.
It's like everything else, unintended consequences. You know, when you think you have something, that
Always pay attention.
something else is gonna come up. So that's another issue that we're gonna need to address.
okay, I'm going to withdraw the motion to push this off. And with the faith in our engineers and our town administrator working with the town manager of Barville, I would like to accept the one-way street, Maury Road, the reversal of the one-way street on Maury Road, the second reading.
So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna restore what was previously changed.
Beautiful.
Okay? Chair will second. Any further discussion by council members?
The motion is to accept as second reading the section 15-6, one-way street, Maury Road, and it is on the section -15 for one-way streets. It's basically stricken from the record. That item B, all vehicles shall travel at all times only in an easterly direction on Maury Road, the intersection on Tarpon Road, Douglas Pike, State Highway 17, now stricken from the record. And item C, all vehicles shall travel at all times in a northerly direction on Ironstone Street, the intersection of Buxton Street, Quaker Highway becomes letter D.
Just have one further question. Once this is passed, those signs will come down tomorrow? All right. Any more questions?
Before we vote, while we're still on topic, Madam Administrator, could you ask DPW or possibly the police department what they see if that was being obstructed with all this, and to ask Mr. Richard to remove it if he doesn't cite it?
I believe they did.
They cited him already?
I'm not sure they decided yet, but he was asked by the police, I believe. And usually it's a 30-day process. If there's an infraction, like, a zoning related infraction, but let me make sure that there hasn't been something issued already.
Well, how big of a vote is this? Is this something that,
One second. Mr. President, motion to extend the meeting another 15 minutes
Second.
till 10:15.
The second by Councilman Zawinski. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. Okay.
just deal with it. If it's small, move the vote.
Mr. Richer, just for the record, Mr. Richer is one of those that has offered up some of his property to make this safe, to make the turn safe. So obviously, he can't keep boulders in the middle of the road that he doesn't own.
And take everything into consideration.
That's the one. All right.
Thank you, Town Administrator. Okay.
Did we vote?
Now we're voting on it
No, we have
now.
a motion, I don't think we have.
There was a second.
Okay.
And roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski? Mr. Boucher?
Yes. Wish you best of luck in the future.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry about the, I apologize on behalf of the town for this unintended consequences of what took place.
Yeah, and
But I mean,
it happens.
but with everybody coming together, and hopefully we can get, everybody gives a little piece of property, the road gets widened, it's a safe bid, and everybody's a winner. So I do thank you for you and your neighbors' efforts
Yeah.
in helping something out.
They all bailed on it, so.
Yeah, but you were here, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and there are signs will come down tomorrow?
Yes.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
we say tomorrow, maybe the day after, but at
If
least
it's raining, maybe.
A good point.
a reasonable amount of time.
Okay, we move on to the next new ordinance, item D. Discussion by council, vote other action, first reading. Loitering, Councilman Nato.
This is actually the first
First
reading.
reading. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we talked about it before, but it wasn't actually brought in. The loitering section is actually in relation to item E for the sex offender residency restrictions, which also includes within it loitering, which I believe is why it was included the loitering ordinance. I would like to accept the ordinance within our packets. That includes a definition of loitering for section 12-15 as the first reading.
Chair seconds. Discussion, councilors? Hearing none, we'll accept the recommendation of our town, of the town solicitor David Leozzi in this matter. And Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. We're moving forward. Item E. New ordinance, section 12-16, sex offender residency restrictions. Discussion by council, vote of action, first reading. Mrs. Nato.
This is to create a 1,000-foot radius surrounding those premises that were listed on page 2. From any registered sex offender from residing within a 1,000-foot radius of those areas and loitering within a 1,000-foot area, radius around those areas. This is not retroactive, it doesn't affect anybody who is already residing within that radius now, because I don't have that control to do that.
Also list the public, also includes the public areas, grounds, school grounds,
Yeah.
parks, etc.
That was something that we didn't have for the first discussion on this, and I still don't have the radius maps.
They were emailed to me.
I don't have them. If you know them on top of my emails, so they must have went to somebody else's.
Ma'am?
No.
Will it email to everybody or just to council?
No, it was just the counselor, she had requested them, and we figured we'd send them to her. It was the next day. I was there, we got it.
says,
Yeah, it should be.
and so I move to approve this as first reading.
You don't want to debate, if we can.
Okay, Councilman Zawinski,
On
discussion?
the child safety zones, and I think Solicitor Osborne will probably need to help you with this one. In Section 1216.2 definitions, we have child safety zone and recreational areas. Maybe I overanalyzed this, but I was thinking about temporary family amusement events. You know, when children and large number of kids come to carnivals and things of that nature, how can we enforce this in this?
So actually, really, really good thought, and never cost my money.
I think of the church when they have it over across from the police station. And that 1,000-foot radius would certainly spill into our jurisdiction by the annex and the streets over there. So, who knows, maybe something takes place up at Slatersville Plaza or something, you know, where there's amusements come in for whatever. How do we enforce this?
Well, first, Mr. Vice President, you have to have knowledge that they have the sex offender working for one of those venues in order to enforce clearly 1,000-foot ordinance. It's not operating subject to enforcement petition. But I think the question is,
Not just a worker, though. I think someone that would be attracted to the venue because of the children, a stalking type individual.
that's such an excellent question, though it's so broad that I don't know if I can tie down the answer to it. It is somewhere in that question, the premise that you actually know the person, that you actually find the person, know the person, force it. Let me answer it very broadly at first. Yeah, you know who the person is without question, if it's passed. You can force it. I can tell you the General Assembly Association passed it, broad with this. There's a lot of opposition to it, but it passed. It passed both sides. I'm not sure if you signed the law, and I used to make the buffer 1,000 feet. So this is consistent with that. I just, I don't know. You have to have knowledge that the person was a registered sex offender to actually enforce it. Could you enforce it? Let me speak to that without question. It was passed. Yes, you could enforce it. But you have to know who they are. So I get the question, but honestly, I'm not sure that I lost the words. I'm not quite sure how to answer that. It's such a broad question. I don't know. You follow what I'm trying to say? I don't know that I can answer that.
Not to interrupt, but isn't that the same for loitering? We don't have a cop there checking everybody's IDs, at every single station of where children can go. So it would be the same, but I think what Mr. Zelinski was getting at is, does this ordinance encompass of temporary moving?
Recreational.
Oh, without question, because that temporary moving venue would become inside that 1,000-foot buffer, right? You're not that goes so short. At the church, you corner up there, yeah, that encompasses. But in the loitering, people, an officer drove up, they didn't know who the people were specifically that were loitering. What's your name? John Doe. When you loiter, and then you could enforce it. Here, you have to know that the people inside that venue were registered sex offenders. Now, you had knowledge, you knew they were, without question, you could enforce it. That's the spirit of the law, right? Is to be able to protect children in that area. So, yes, to answer your question, broadly, yes, without question, you can enforce it, but you have to find out who they are. It takes some due diligence on behalf of the town, perhaps the police department, when these venues are coming to town, to run some background checks and find out who's actually working there.
Senator, I have a question. I'm sorry, Solicitor. With that 1,000-foot buffer, when it goes into another community, like for example, another situation, Kelly Field, which is on the Blackstone and Socket, North Smithfield, it's in North Smithfield, it's on the Blackstone and Socket line. That 1,000-foot buffer, how can it carry, I don't believe it by law, it can carry it to another state, another jurisdiction.
No, not to another state. Not to, you can't, we have the Fourth Amendment, the Constitution, full faith and credit, that we have reciprocity between states to honor the
Okay, the other item I have is that, for example, given the fact that in North Smithfield, the carnival is in Woonsocket, how can our buffer affect the city, affect another community where we don't have any jurisdiction?
I think you should, Mr. President, I think you should look from your community outwards and say, if you've got a carnival in your island that is within the buffer, even if that buffer extends over to Massachusetts, clearly you can enforce it. But if there's a carnival in Massachusetts and it's on the cusp of our city and it's within that 1,000-foot buffer, you really don't have any ability to enforce that. You can't transpose your island's laws onto the Commonwealth or any other state.
Okay, just one final question dealing with this. You said this particular bill, there may be something currently in the around General Assembly dealing with this?
Not many, there absolutely is.
There is. And do you know if it hasn't passed as of yet?
It came out of the Senate, passed the Senate floor. I don't know, and my understanding is it's co-sponsored on the House side, passed the House side. My understanding is it passed the House side. I don't know if the governor signed it either way.
All right, so therefore we can pass this as an ordinance, and when the state law goes into effect, we'll be in concurrence with the law.
Yeah,
And so,
I thought this was actually written in concert with that. I thought somebody picked up on it and actually said we're going to make ourselves consistent with state law. So that's what I thought this actually.
No, this actually came up because Mrs. Nato has kids, and so do a lot of other people in this town, and it is really important to protect them as much as absolutely possible.
I think, I respect that, Councilman. I think before it was 200 feet, right? Wasn't that, was it?
We actually never had an ordinance, so we were going against the state, which I believe was 300, which definitely was not enough, especially for a rural area such as North Smithfield. 300 feet is nothing, it's between telephone poles.
Might have been 300, 200 or 300 feet is a smaller number with that, but it is 1,000. That's the
I think it was 500, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, so we wanted to build upon it. The first thought was 750, but I wanted a 30-mile radius around the town. I wanted to put our town in a bubble, just to protect the kids of the town, because they're sickles out there.
No, we were concerned about, violation and, others' rights as well, and I thought we'd compromise on 1,000.
Not the common move to semi-analysis, but now I was thinking about this temporary amusement park. And I use Slater Plaza. If we did do that, now we're restricting trade. If a pedophile or a sex offender wishes to go buy a gallon of milk, now we're saying that you can't go there now because there's a carnival.
No, we're not, because he's not loitering. He can, it says in the ordinance that they can be there during the course of regular business, so we're not restricting their rights. They can still conduct regular business, they just can't loiter.
Like going to a polling place or a house of worship and then you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely,
Thanks,
so
Council.
not to infringe on their constitutional rights, because,
Yep.
we would open ourselves up to a lawsuit from the ACLU for that. Even though I still be fine with it.
Okay.
So, motion to approve, did we get a second?
Chair seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Abbott? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
So we did the limited as well as the sexual right. Both will vote no.
Yes.
Okay,
I'd make a motion to table it unless there's a compelling reason to go over F.
Motion to table.
Yeah, table.
motion to table.
Yes.
Chair seconds.
This
Council,
is a running agenda item.
Yeah, I just want to keep it as a running agenda. It's
All right,
not
great.
even we just, we won't hire someone.
we have a, Chair second, the motion to table. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Abbott? Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. Okay, G, discussion by council, vote other action, agreement with former building inspector payment for services, Mrs. House.
The last meeting I asked that administration bring all the backup saying from the state advising that we were to do this. Can we do that? Can we do that?
This year is a council.
Ms. House asked if we have done the background on why we needed.
Did you bring all
President's motion to extend the meeting another 10 minutes to 10:25.
Second.
Okay, seconds, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Alice? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski? Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
So if you've spoken to him, can you get something in writing stating all these facts, that this is what we were to do?
Yeah, I can get it in writing. They're very reluctant to do anything in writing as a group, but I will certainly do that. And we can get another person if we need it as a backup once in a while, if it's someone on vacation and we need someone to do that. Very few times that we've needed anyone else other than to do that.
How long is it before we find out if he passed his exam, if he gets his certification?
You get it immediately from them.
So we should
Like
know,
this week.
we should know when interesting goes.
I think he's going Wednesday of this week for his final.
Question, you just touched upon something with the like vacations and the like. In other words, let's say Mr. Camby was on vacation or out sick for whatever reason in one length of period. In other words, you could hire a division of the council to cover that. Whether it be, if you want to, I'll just say, to say goodbye, if you want to use Mr. Bernard or anyone else that who has the certification.
I mean, in the 7 years I've been here, we've never had to get another person when Mr. Benoit was there. So it's a rare occasion, I would imagine, but Mr. Layden at the state definitely offered to provide us with someone in the area, or another option would be to go to another community and ask them if they'd like to offer their services and we would pay for that individual, and not respect them in another surrounding community. So there are a few options. But we haven't, never had any additional, I don't believe, need Mr. Benoit's signature in that one.
So I just request that we still don't pay that billion.
Mr. President. Council Rouse, anything to try, Wayne, if you had any questions? If we're going to try to cover building inspections or zoning violations in the absence of a hopefully certified building zoning official, would the cost be borne by the applicant? If somebody wants to put up a fence, and our building official is off for 2 weeks, and we've got to pay somebody $37.50 as opposed to $20. What do we do? Does the town absorb that additional cost for a building official?
I believe that's our responsibility,
Is that
as
yes,
part of a service that we provide.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. Need a motion to adjourn, Mr. President? Oh, we got that. We're not done? I'm surprised you put I'm done. I'm done.
I'm talking about, so in other words, okay, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, there was a motion on the floor to not pay. Not-
I just request.
I don't know the motion.
Did you make a motion not to pay this at the present time to get the information from the town administrator, or?
Well, I needed the last one, I'm just requesting that we still don't pay that, so if you want to make a motion. I make a motion not to release the $200 payment to Mr. Benoit for his services.
Pending information from the town administrator?
The motion was to not release?
Not
Okay,
release.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alice? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Oh, geez, yeah, we got stuff with this.
Right, there's no one for the redevelopment agency?
Just continue with this, President. Yeah, we need a motion.
Okay, we'll continue that till next agenda item. Okay, we did business A.
We need to do B and D.
Okay, discussion by council vote on action on resolution opposing truck size, rate increases. Mrs. Hammond?
I believe you should have something in your packet from national organization, and basically there's a move afoot to increase was in discussion with the person who was running the organization, and I'm talking about the executives. We do have, it is actually at the federal level right now, where our state legislators, well, our federal legislators will be considering it. And it was just to see if you would be interested in sending an opposition to that, and to refrain from increasing the size and weight of trailer trucks, from what they are now, which, what damage they can cause when they get into traffic accidents, and the amount of incredible pavement wear and tear over our streets. The reason I think that we got in touch with us is because we have the ordinance in the Smithfield area that prevents trucks over 18 wheels from coming through. So they were very interested in learning how that went, and one thing led to another, and this is something that's going on all over the country.
I'm concerned about I noticed that we've suffered greatly during the past few winters, and any increases in weight will only further deteriorate our roads. And also, there is safety issues with tandem trailers. I've seen cases, I've actually seen it when a tandem popped, hit a bump, and the thing got dislodged. And I was driving in Connecticut at the time, and it's not pretty, to say the least. And I would not want to increase any weight limits whatsoever. I think we do it fine the way it is. I think we did ahead of the curve, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's my personal opinion. I can't speak to the rest of the council.
So what do we need? Is this like the first reading of the resolution, or just going to vote on it this evening?
This is the resolution, and there's one letter I have to send along with Senator Whitehouse, Senator Reed, and Congressman.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the chair to sign it to approve the State of Rhode Island Park Plantation Town of North Smithfield resolution imposing truck size and/or weight increases.
Chair seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Ms. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Lundey?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Item D, Mr. President, did we get paperwork on that? Did you get the paperwork on that?
We can explain D in 2 seconds. We had a meeting the other day, and we were trying to agree on what to do with the issue that came up last year with people who had been on the job for less than 1 year, should they get a raise? And that had to do with appointed people, like department heads. Like Jason, for example, hasn't been in the job a year. So what we were proposing was that they prorate the raise. So in essence, the budget for a half-a-year raise, that will go into effect in January when he's had his 1-year anniversary. That's it. Can you people live with that?
We just wanted to open the discussion. We have a different opinion on that, and we wanted to at least alert you to the fact that we're going to come to you with different opinions and see if there's, you have the other.
Currently, the difference between their presentation of the prorated and our presentation of her discretion is about $9,000 overall. So we're not talking a large amount, but the logic I believe that she has is that it's at her discretion based on what you can read in, town documents here. It kind of leaves it up to, the range is up to her.
Up to the 3%, so if the ordinance itself sets that, if it's not to exceed, but it can be from the previous 2. So it came about several years ago when we had a discussion about employees that we felt wouldn't require or had not earned a full 3%. And we didn't want, I don't know if this is ringing the bell, we didn't want to have just an arbitrary 3% for everyone, because not everyone
our numbers as close together as we could, so that maybe we could go in with one set of
Can I
numbers.
say that at this point, I'm extremely fatigued, and
Yeah.
I don't want to make a decision.
Make sure it's on the next.
Yes.
Or we can talk to you individually, figure out.
No, I'd rather
I
have-
kind of want to throw it out there too, so it's gotta be better in public. Good. Okay, thanks.
Motion to adjourn?
Second by, motion by Councilman Nato, second by Councilman Morales, to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?